Hi, I am Sharif Abuzid from Translation Partner. If you plan to translate your e-commerce website into another language or languages, there are three main factors that you need to consider. The first factor is the cultural relevance, the second one is the search engine optimization, and the third one is the user experience. Let me briefly explain each one of these. Let's start with the cultural relevance. One of the common mistakes that e-commerce website owners make when they translate their website, they just consider that, okay, translation is translating one word for another. However, if you are translating something into another language, this means you are translating your content into another culture also. So you need to consider the cultural aspects of the target audience or the target market that you need to reach or to expand into while translating your website content. And this applies to translating your product titles, your product description, your marketing messages. And by cultural here, I mean that let's say that you are translating something into or for the United Arab Emirates market. Make sure that you use a translation agency or a freelancer who is familiar with the United Arab Emirates terminology, culture, and what the customers inside the or in the United Arab Emirates like and dislike. This is something very critical. The second factor is the search engine optimization. Now, it is very common to forget about this aspect, but if you are translating an e-commerce website into another language, you need to take care or take advantage of the local search engines, for example, Google in the United Arab Emirates. So you need to make sure that you are tweaking your website so it can rank in the local search engine for the United Arab Emirates if you are targeting United Arab Emirates. And this can apply to using the specific keywords used in your target market. Let me give you an example. I am an Egyptian and I live in Egypt, and we refer to the word car in a different way from if you are referring to a customer who lives in the United Arab Emirates. You need to tweak your website. Hi, I am Sharif Abuzid from Hello, I am Sharif Abuzid from Translation Partner. If you plan to translate your e-commerce website into another language or languages, there are three main factors that you need to consider, and they are cultural relevance, search engine optimization, and user experience and design. Let me briefly explain each one of these. Let me start with the cultural relevance. One of the common mistakes that we see that e-commerce website owners make when translating their website, they think that translation is translating word for word, but this is not the case, especially with e-commerce websites. Because if you are translating into another language, that means you are translating into a different culture. So make sure that the translation agency that you hire or the freelance translator that you hire are very familiar with the target audience or the target culture that you are translating into. They need to consider this while translating your product descriptions, your website copy, even your product titles. This is something that needs to be considered. The second factor is the search engine optimization. You can't miss the opportunity to rank into local search engines, and this can be considered by translating your website copy into using keywords that are relevant for the local search engine of your target market. For example, I live in Egypt, so I live in the Egyptian market, and the Egyptian market refers to the word car in a totally different way than or from the customers who live in the United Arab Emirates. So we need to tweak your website content or your website keywords in a way that can help you rank in the social search engines of your local target market. Now you have translated your website considering cultural relevance, you have considered search engine optimization. You need to consider also the user experience and design. For example, the checkout process. What items that a customer in the United Arab Emirates needs to see while they are checking out is different from the customers who live in Spain, for example. So you need to make sure that your checkout process aligns with the target market that you are translating for. Also, maybe you need to consider the images that you are using inside your website. This needs to reflect the experience that your customers needs to feel while browsing your e-commerce website. Here at Translation Partner, we consider all of these factors while translating e-commerce content. So if you want to translate your e-commerce website into one language or more than one language, feel free to reach out to us at Translation Partner so we can have a discussion, and we also can give you a proposal or a quote or answer a question or some questions that you may have. That's it. Thanks so much for watching, and reach out to us if you need any help.